This isn't for anybody who's currently alive, so you might as well quit watching. These are observations from the distant future. By now, you've come across these tapes from long, long ago and realized some things about what happened. For example, how obvious it was that an extermination program was being run by the Department of Corrections with the help of Joe Biden and Donald Trump, who worked together on the project. They had the cooperation of the Israelis and Russia, China, most of the UN. While they left them there about sex being the justification, no matter what you did, no matter what you said, just sex was the justification. The way that the pornographic genocide played was that virginity proves rape because both pertain to sex. See, so we're not really saying that virginity proves rape. They're saying that virginity is about sex, rape is about sex. So they did it because of sex. It gets a little bit tenuous when you come to COVID-19. I mean, they kicked out our Grammys because of sex. And it's not their desire to have sex, presumably, but rather that the old people already had sex. What good are they now? You got the idea. It's clear that a society that's capable of what this one did is very difficult to shame. And what you find is that it's actually impossible to shame. Look, for example, at Obama. Obama is a black man who rode the coattails of Martin Luther King's movement up the escalator into power. The Access Hollywood system that put it together had a role assigned to him. And a movie that they made about him, which very typically was a Japanese gangster movie called Brother, in which after wreaking havoc, killing JFK, symbolically, you know this from the overall tapestry of Axis semiotics. They throw a suitcase full of money on his lap as he drives down the highway. He's laughing and crying at the same time. So he becomes the drone warrior par excellence. The drone warrior throughout the Middle East, the Christian black man. A Bush stooge, but he has a Chinese statue to Martin Luther King at his side. Obviously, a man like that is next to impossible to shame. He's in the emperor's new clothes. But you wonder what drives a society to believe that a person who they poached hideously as a child and then rubbed a script in his face that they deny they even exist. The girl who wrote it was never arrested. She's a partner of the people who claim to be the big victims. How does that work? It doesn't make any sense. You can't shame it. You can't work it out. It doesn't make sense. It just means that they're justifying what they did by sex. Now, what would you call a society that believes they're going to be listened to when they talk about a legal system, objective legal system. I mean, it's a lie. Or they're going to be um, taken seriously when they talk about a Bill of Rights for their citizens. You know, they don't give a Bill of Rights to their own citizens. That's what they claim is so great about them. So, I mean, the Bill of Rights they issued to me as a child was the right to be tortured, kidnapped, lied to, deafened, serially molested, poisoned, and poached. And that's what Biden obviously stands for. He's never done anything about it. But the people who would do this then go on to say that their victim has to live every single minute in the public eye. They have to know everything. They have to know the new poem I wrote. They have to know every single inflection. Well, what it has to do with a bizarre idea that got into people's heads that if you can prove by rapid eye movement, twitch, like the inspector who chases Clouseau around in the Pink Panther films. He's going to prove that there was a secret hostility for a black poet who touched the heart of the victim. And they'll draw, and they'll conjure, and they'll lie. Nothing else. But if they detect it, or if they can pretend they detected it, then they would get the big money and run off with the licky chops morsels. What gives? They tortured and kidnapped the child in broad daylight and used it for genocide pornography film. And they justified it by saying, well, it's because of sex. Virginity and rape are both sex. Sex is sin. Sin is Satan. It's holy war. Even the black man can understand this, says Lou and Greg Carl. So the black man is exempt from dishonesty over sex. Jesse Jackson, when he has an extramarital affair, that's different than when a student gets seduced by a teacher who deceives the student about her marriage. Never tells him, never claims, never admits until the day after that her roommate is in arranged marriage with a husband. That's the white man violating the black man. But when Jesse Jackson has an extramarital affair knowingly, because he himself is married, that's a moral lapse that has to be apologized. And there's not anything more to it than that. So when the black man is implicated in theft, it's a moral lapse. But when the white leaves a girl a virgin, she must be barbecued. And where does this come from? It comes from white British rock stars. So how do they get these outside observers, these town busybodies to play along with it. It has to do with some sort of really creepy voyeurism for the idea that you have to justify that you feel bigotry towards a person you know nothing about. So you have the right to peep on a person you know nothing about, don't you? You have the right to project your bigotry onto the person on whom you are peeping, don't you? And it's because it was just a trophy kid. They say that they're not groomers in Seattle, Washington, that the hostility for the woke is a stereotype of the imagination. The conservative hypocrite is paranoid. They didn't groom me. They poached me. What they did was a fulfillment of every single stereotype the crazy Republicans present about the Democrats. They attacked me, blindside, armed men. They used me for you know what. They justified it by saying I was lying. And who should be behind it? But the very people accusing them, with them, because they decided to make an exception. And this exception is that the victim doesn't have a Bill of Rights. What the victim has is the obligation to be used for genocide pornography. This is the mind of the United States at work. Way back when, long ago. You might wonder,